The rifle barrel pressed cold against Lena Carter's temple, and the rustler's breath reeked of whiskey when he leaned close. "Last chance, Wildcat. Sign over the deed, or we paint these rocks with your brains." She spat blood onto his boots. "Go to hell." His finger tightened on the trigger. Then a voice cut through the darkness, calm, deadly quiet. "Take your hand off that woman." The rustler spun. A shadow stood 20 feet away, silhouetted against the moon. "Who the hell are—" The gunshot answered before he finished. Lena had spent 10 years proving no man could break her. She never imagined one might choose to stand beside her instead. Please subscribe to our channel, watch this story to the very end, and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. The rustler's body hit the dirt before Lena fully processed what happened. 3 more men wheeled toward the stranger, hands flying to their guns. He moved like water, fluid, inevitable. 2 shots cracked the night air. 2 more bodies dropped. The last rustler ran for his horse. "Let him go," the stranger said. His voice carried no emotion, just fact. Lena's hand shook as she lowered her own rifle. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She'd faced death before. Hell, she'd invited it more times than she could count. But something about tonight felt different. The stranger holstered his weapon and stepped into the firelight. Tall, lean, eyes that had seen too much. "You hurt?" he asked. "I'm fine." Lena wiped blood from her split lip. "Who are you?" "Caleb Ward." He glanced at the bodies. "You got rope?" She stared at him. Most men would have demanded gratitude, would have launched into some speech about how she needed protection, how a woman had no business running a ranch alone. Caleb just waited. "Barn," she finally said. "I'll get it." "I'll get it. You sit down before you fall down." Lena's spine stiffened. "I don't need—" "Your hands are shaking. You got blood running down your neck. Adrenaline crash is coming hard." His tone didn't change. "Sit. I'll handle the bodies." Something in his absolute certainty made her legs wobble. She sat. By the time Caleb returned with rope, Lena had managed to stop trembling. She watched him drag the bodies toward the tree line. Efficient, methodical, like he'd done this 1,000 times before. "They were going to kill me," she said. "Yes." "You don't even know me." Caleb paused, rope in hand. "Didn't need to know you. Needed to know them." "And what did you know?" "That they weren't going to stop." He secured the rope around the last body. "They'll send more." Lena's stomach dropped. "How do you know?" "Because I've seen it before." Caleb straightened, wiping his hands on his pants. "Land grab. They terrorize you until you sell cheap or disappear. You're not the first ranch they've hit." "How long have you been watching?" 2 days. The admission should have angered her. Instead, it raised different questions. "Why didn't you introduce yourself? Why wait until—" "Wanted to see what you were made of first." His eyes met hers. "Now I know." "And what am I made of?" "Steel." He said it like he was commenting on the weather. "Stubborn steel that's going to get you killed if you don't start thinking strategic instead of proud." Heat flooded Lena's face. "I've run this ranch for 10 years without—" "And you've been lucky for 10 years. Caleb's voice stayed level. "Luck runs out. Those men weren't drunk cowboys looking for trouble. They were professionals, hired guns." "Hired by who?" "Same people who've been buying up land across the valley." He walked toward his horse, tied near the canyon entrance. "Winchester Syndicate. They want every acre between here and the railway line." Lena stood, ignoring the way her vision swam. I'm not selling. I know. Caleb pulled supplies from his saddlebag. That's why they're going to escalate. Then I'll fight. With who? Your ranch hands are good cowboys, but they're not soldiers. He turned back to her. How many men you got right now? Lena's jaw tightened. 5. 2 are in town getting supplies. 3 men to defend 1,000 acres. Caleb shook his head. They'll come back with 20, maybe 30. They'll burn you out. So what do you suggest? I just hand over my father's land? Everything he built? No. Caleb walked past her toward the ranch house lights in the distance. You get smart. You fortify. You train your men to fight like their lives depend on it. Because they do. Lena caught his arm. Why do you care? He looked down at her hand, then at her face. For the first time, something shifted in his expression. Something old and tired. Because I'm sick of watching good people lose to bad ones, he said quietly. And because I was passing through anyway. That's it? You just happened to be nearby? Sometimes that's all it takes. He gently removed her hand from his arm. You got coffee at that house? You're not staying. Not long, but long enough to tell you what's coming. Caleb started walking again. And long enough for you to decide if pride's worth dying for. Lena watched him stride toward her home, uninvited, unbothered, absolutely certain of himself. She should have been furious. Instead, she found herself following. The ranch house kitchen smelled like wood smoke and old coffee. Caleb sat at the table like he'd been there 100 times before, hands wrapped around a tin cup, eyes tracking every shadow beyond the windows. Lena's ranch hand, Pete, a gray-haired cowboy who'd worked for her father, stood in the doorway with his rifle. Boss, you want me to... It's fine, Pete. Lena poured herself coffee. Mr. Ward just saved my life. That true? Pete's weathered face showed skepticism. 3 men. Canyon Pass. Caleb didn't look up from his cup. You'll find them come morning. Pete's eyes widened. 3? Lena! I'm fine. She sat across from Caleb. Wake the others. Double the watch tonight. Yes, ma'am. Pete hesitated. You sure about this stranger? Lena studied Caleb's impassive face. No, but I'm sure about those bodies in the canyon. After Pete left, silence settled heavy. Your men are loyal, Caleb finally said. They loved my father. They tolerate me. They respect you. There's a difference. You can tell that from watching 2 days? I can tell that from watching how you carry yourself. Caleb set down his cup. Most women in your position would have remarried by now. Safety in a man's name. Lena's laugh came out bitter. You think I haven't had offers? I think you've had plenty. I also think none of them wanted you. They wanted your land. The accuracy stung. 7 proposals in 10 years, Lena heard herself say. 3 from neighboring ranchers who already own twice what I do. 2 from businessmen in Cheyenne who'd never sat a horse. 1 from the sheriff. What'd you tell them? Same thing I'm telling you right now. This ranch doesn't come with me attached. It's mine. Not because my father left it to me, but because I've earned it. Every fence post, every head of cattle, every goddamn sunrise. Caleb's mouth almost smiled. Almost. That speech work on them? Sheriff tried to court me anyway. Brought flowers every Sunday for 3 months. What changed his mind? I shot a rattlesnake off his saddle from 50 yards. He realized I didn't need protecting. This time Caleb did smile. Small, quick, but real. You always this difficult? Only when men assume I need saving. Lena leaned forward. So let's be clear. I appreciate what you did tonight. But if you're planning some rescue fantasy where the helpless woman falls into your arms, I'm planning to leave in the morning. The blunt answer caught her off guard. What? I'm a drifter. I move on. Caleb stood, walking to the window. But before I do, I'll tell you what you're up against. Winchester Syndicate has been operating for 6 months. Started in Montana, moved south. They buy cheap, or they buy ruins. How do you know all this? Because I've tracked them. He turned. Lost count of the good people who stood their ground and lost everything. Ranches burned, families scattered. Some disappeared entirely. Lena's blood chilled. Why are you tracking them? Personal reasons. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're getting. Caleb moved back to the table. Point is, they're organized. They've got lawyers, politicians, and enough hired guns to start a small war. You're one woman with 3 cowboys and a stubborn streak. You can't win. So I should just surrender. I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? Caleb pulled a folded map from his coat and spread it on the table. Marks covered the paper, ranches crossed out, others circled. These are the properties they've acquired in the last 90 days. This, he tapped a circle, is yours. And these, more taps, are your neighbors. 8 ranches total. They're isolating you. Lena studied the map, her stomach sinking. The Hendersons sold last month, she whispered. Sold cheap after their water got poisoned. The Malloys? Barn fire, lost 40 head of cattle. Jesus. Lena looked up. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because everyone's scared. Scared to organize. Scared to fight back. Caleb refolded the map. That's how they win. Fear and isolation. What would fighting back even look like? Alliance. Every remaining rancher in this valley stands together. Share resources. Share defense. Make it too expensive for the syndicate to keep pushing. Lena shook her head. These ranchers barely speak to each other. Half of them think I shouldn't own land because I'm a woman. You think they'll follow my lead? No. Caleb met her eyes. But they might follow proof that resistance works. What kind of proof? The kind that comes from winning the first real fight. Something in his tone made her pulse quicken. You're talking about an ambush. I'm talking about preparation. When they come back, and they will, you're ready. You don't just survive, you win. Decisively. Caleb's voice dropped. Word spreads fast out here. One successful defense, and suddenly other ranchers start wondering if they can fight too. That's a hell of a gamble. It's the only gamble that matters. He stood. I'll be gone by sunup. But if you want my advice before I leave, start building defenses. Trenches along the North Ridge. Clear sight lines. Train your men to shoot like their children are watching. Lena rose slowly. And if I asked you to stay? Help us prepare? You won't ask. Why not? Because you don't trust me yet. And because part of you thinks you can do this alone. Caleb walked toward the door. You're wrong. But you'll need to figure that out yourself. He was right. The admission burned. Where will you go? Wherever the trail leads. He paused at the threshold. For what it's worth, I hope you make it. This valley needs people like you. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to prove she didn't need anyone's hope or help. Instead, she heard herself say, Thank you. Caleb nodded once and disappeared into the darkness. She stood in the empty doorway, listening to his horse fade into distance, wondering why his leaving felt like losing something she'd barely found. Dawn came cold and gray. Lena hadn't slept. She'd spent the night walking the property, checking defenses, replaying every word Caleb had said. Pete found her at the North Ridge as the sun broke. Found the bodies, just like he said. The old cowboy's face looked troubled. Lena, those men were executed. Clean shots. Professional. I know. Who the hell is that stranger? Someone who knows more about what's coming than we do. Lena scanned the horizon. Get the boys together. We need to talk about fortifications. We going to war? No, she turned to face him. We're preparing to defend what's ours. There's a difference. Pete studied her face. Your daddy would be proud. My daddy would tell me I'm being stubborn and stupid. Yeah, that too. Pete almost smiled. But proud. They walked back toward the house together, and Lena tried not to notice the empty space where Caleb's horse had been tied. He was gone, like he'd promised. She should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt oddly hollow. 3 days passed. Lena threw herself into preparation. They dug trenches, built reinforced positions, moved cattle to the far pastures. Every cowboy now carried a rifle, even the young ones who'd never fired at anything but tin cans. On the 4th morning, Pete burst into the house before sunrise. Riders coming, at least a dozen. Lena grabbed her rifle. Positions, now! Wait, Pete caught her arm. They're not syndicate men. They're ranchers. I recognize Tom Millhouse's paint horse. Confusion flooded through her. What do ranchers want at dawn? Only one way to find out. They walked outside together. 12 riders sat their horses in Lena's yard, weathered men with hard faces and harder lives. Tom Millhouse, who owned the spread west of hers. Sarah and Frank Porter, who ran cattle to the south. Others she recognized from town but barely knew. Tom dismounted slowly. Miss Carter. Tom. Lena kept her rifle lowered but visible. Little early for a social call. This ain't social. He pulled off his hat. We heard what happened at the Canyon Pass. Heard you killed 3 syndicate men. I didn't. A stranger did. Stranger's gone now, though, ain't he? Lena's jaw tightened. What's your point? Point is, you stood your ground. You survived. Tom looked at the other ranchers. And we're tired of being picked off one by one. Sarah Porter nudged her horse forward. They poisoned our well last week. Killed 6 cattle before we figured it out. Burned my hay barn, another rancher added. Middle of the night. Could have lost everything. They visited me personally, Tom said quietly. Offered half what my land's worth. When I refused, they said accidents happen to stubborn men. Lena felt something shift in the air. So you're here because we're done being victims. Tom's voice hardened. We heard you're fortifying, training your men to fight. We want in. You want to fight the syndicate? We want to survive, and we figured together we got better odds than alone. Lena looked at the assembled ranchers, people who'd never taken her seriously before. People who'd whispered about her unmarried status, her unfeminine ways, her stubborn refusal to accept a man's guidance. Now they stood in her yard, asking her to lead. If we do this, she said slowly, we do it right. That means discipline, training, following orders even when you don't like them. Your orders? Tom asked. My land, my terms. Silence stretched. Then Tom extended his hand. Fair enough. Lena shook it, feeling the calluses that matched her own. We start tomorrow. Bring your best men, and bring shovels. As the ranchers rode out, Pete stepped close. You know what you just did? Started something I can't stop. Started something you're going to have to lead through hell. Pete's voice held worry and pride in equal measure. You ready for that? Lena watched the dust settle from departing horses.
"No," she admitted, "but I don't think ready matters anymore."
2 weeks blurred past in a fever of preparation. Lena ran drills until men collapsed. She taught shooting positions, defensive formations, how to move under fire. The Valley Ranchers worked like they'd never worked before, building barricades, clearing fields of fire, establishing communication signals between properties. For the first time in her life, Lena commanded real respect. Not as John Carter's daughter, not as the woman trying to fill a man's boots, as a leader who knew what she was doing. But every night, lying in bed staring at ceiling shadows, she thought about Caleb Ward, about his calm certainty, his lethal competence. The way he'd seen her as a partner, not a problem. She told herself it was tactical. He had knowledge they needed. But late at night, honesty crept in. She missed him. Not in some romantic, foolish way. She wasn't some silly girl chasing a mysterious stranger. She missed having someone who understood, who didn't need explanations, who looked at her and saw capability instead of limitation. On the 15th day, Pete found her checking the North Ridge defenses. "Rider coming. Alone." Lena's heart kicked. "Syndicate?" "Don't think so. Moving slow. Not hiding." They watched the figure approach, silhouetted against the afternoon sun, riding a paint horse she'd recognize anywhere. Caleb. He reined in 20 feet away, studying their fortifications with an appraising eye. "Not bad," he said. "Trenches could be deeper, but not bad." Lena crossed her arms, trying to ignore the relief flooding her chest. "Thought you moved on." "I did." He dismounted. "Got as far as Montana. Heard some things. Came back." "What things?" "Winchester Syndicate's hired a new enforcer. Man named Dutch Keller. He specializes in breaking hard targets." Caleb's eyes found hers. "He's coming here. Soon." The name sent ice through Lena's veins. "How soon?" "Week. Maybe less." Caleb surveyed the assembled defenses again. "You've done good work, but it won't be enough." "Then help us make it enough." The words came out before Lena could stop them. Caleb's expression didn't change. "I'm not a savior. I'm not asking you to be. I'm asking you to teach us how to survive." "Why should I?" "Because you're sick of watching good people lose to bad ones. You said so yourself." A ghost of a smile touched his mouth. "Using my own words against me." "Whatever works." Lena stepped closer. "We're going to fight, with or without you. But I'd rather it be with someone who knows what they're doing." Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Then, 3 weeks. That's all I'm committing to. I train your people, we prepare defenses, and when Dutch comes, if we survive, I'm gone." 3 weeks is enough." "Don't thank me yet." Caleb gathered his horse's reins. "This is going to get ugly. People are going to die. And when it's over, you're going to hate yourself for the things you had to do." "I'll survive." "I know." He looked at her, really looked at her, like he was seeing past the armor to something deeper. "That's what worries me." Before Lena could ask what he meant, Pete approached with 4 other ranch hands trailing behind. "This the stranger?" Pete asked. "This is Caleb Ward." Lena kept her voice level. "He's going to help prepare us for what's coming." "And what's coming?" one of the younger cowboys asked. Caleb's answer was simple and terrible. "War." The word hung in the air like gunsmoke. Pete broke the silence first. "War. That's what you're calling it." "That's what it is." Caleb tied his horse to the rail. Dutch Keller doesn't do warning shots. He comes to finish things. Tom Milhouse, who'd ridden back that morning with supplies, stepped forward. I fought in the Indian Wars. I know what war looks like. This is land disputes and hired guns. You're wrong. Caleb's voice carried absolute certainty. Dutch served in the same unit I did.
He's not a hired gun. He's a strategist. He'll study your defenses, find your weak points. Then he'll hit you when you're most vulnerable, with overwhelming force, and he won't stop until you're broken or dead. You served with this man? Lena asked quietly. Until he deserted, took half our company with him. Caleb's jaw tightened. Started selling his skills to whoever paid best. Heard he killed a family in Colorado last year. Whole homestead burned. No survivors. The younger cowboy, barely 20, named Jesse, went pale. We can't fight someone like that. No, you can't. Caleb looked at each man in turn. But I can teach you how to survive him. Maybe even win. If you're willing to do exactly what I say, when I say it, without question. And if we're not, Tom challenged, then you'll die brave and stupid, and Dutch will take your land anyway. Caleb walked toward the defenses they'd built. Your trenches are shallow. Your sight lines are compromised by that stand of cottonwoods. Your water source is exposed, and you've got no fallback position if they breach the first line. Lena's pride stung. We've worked 2 weeks on these fortifications. And you've built something that'll slow them down for maybe an hour. Caleb turned. I'm not criticizing your effort. I'm telling you reality. Dutch will see these same problems in 5 minutes. The difference is, he'll know how to exploit them. So, what do we do? Lena forced herself to ask. We start over. We build it right. Caleb pointed to the ridge. Pete, get your best axeman. Those cottonwoods are coming down today. Tom, I need your ranch hands, the ones who know masonry. We're building stone barriers, not wood. Stone? Tom looked skeptical. That'll take weeks. You've got 6 days, maybe 7 if we're lucky. Caleb's eyes swept the assembled men. Anyone not willing to work until their hands bleed, leave now, because that's the minimum requirement. No one moved. Good. Caleb started toward the barn. Lena, walk with me. She followed, acutely aware of the eyes watching them. Once they were out of earshot, Caleb stopped. You need to establish clear command. Right now, these men respect you, but they're still questioning whether a woman can lead them through violence. I've proven myself. You've proven you can organize and shoot. You haven't proven you can make the hard calls. His voice softened slightly. When Dutch comes, people will die. Maybe people you care about. You'll have to order men into positions knowing they might not come back. Can you do that? Lena met his eyes. Can you? I've done it before. It destroyed me. Something old and haunted flickered across his face. I'm asking if you're ready for that same destruction. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. You could still sell. Take your people and leave. Start somewhere else. And let Dutch win? Let the syndicate terrorize the next valley? Lena shook her head. No, this is where we make a stand. Caleb studied her for a long moment. Then you need to be harder than you've ever been, starting now. What does that mean? It means when Tom questions your orders, you shut him down publicly. When Jesse shows fear, you remind him what he's fighting for. When someone wants to debate strategy, you make it clear there's no debate. There's only survival. He stepped closer. Can you be that person? Lena thought about her father, about the way he'd commanded respect through strength and certainty. Yes, she said. Prove it.
Caleb gestured toward where the men waited. Tom's about to question why we're cutting down those trees. He thinks he knows better. Handle it. They walked back together. Sure enough, Tom was already arguing with Pete. Those cottonwoods provide shade for the house. John Carter planted them himself. We're not cutting them down. Lena didn't hesitate. Yes, we are. Tom turned. Lena, those trees have been there 20 years, and they'll provide cover for snipers. They go. Today. She kept her voice level, but unyielding. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave my property right now. Tom's face reddened. Now you listen here. No, you listen. Lena stepped forward. You came to me. You asked for this alliance. That means following the plan. Caleb knows Dutch Keller. We don't. So when he says the trees are a liability, they're a liability. End of discussion. The silence stretched. Then Tom nodded slowly. All right, your land, your call. Lena felt Caleb's approval like warmth at her back, but she didn't turn around. Get the axes. We've got 6 days to make this valley a fortress. Let's not waste them arguing. The men dispersed to their tasks. Pete lingered. That was well done. That was necessary. Lena watched the cowboys head for the tool shed. Get someone to scout the southern approach. I want to know the moment anyone unusual enters the valley. Yes, ma'am. After Pete left, Caleb appeared beside her. You're learning. Don't patronize me. I'm not. I'm acknowledging growth. He handed her a piece of paper covered in sketches. These are the defensive positions we need. Study them. By nightfall, I want you able to explain every element to your men. Lena took the paper. Where will you be? Teaching your cowboys how to kill. Caleb's expression showed no emotion. Most of them have never shot at a living target. That hesitation will get them killed. I'm going to train it out of them. How? By making them understand what's coming. He started walking toward the practice range. You should watch. You're going to have to explain this to their families when some of them don't come home. The brutality of the statement caught Lena off guard, but she followed anyway. Caleb lined up 12 men at the shooting range. He'd set up targets, not the usual circles, but crude, man-shaped silhouettes. How many of you have killed someone? He asked. Silence. That's what I thought. Caleb walked the line. When Dutch's men come, they won't hesitate. They'll see you, aim, and fire. You'll have maybe 2 seconds to respond. If you're thinking, you're dead. If you're aiming carefully, you're dead. If you're wondering if you can really pull the trigger, you're dead. Jesse raised a shaking hand. But we've been practicing. You've been practicing target shooting, not combat. Caleb pulled his revolver in one smooth motion and fired. The silhouette's head section shattered. That's combat. No thought, pure reaction. Your body knows what to do before your brain catches up. He holstered the weapon. Now you try. When I say threat, you draw and fire. Don't aim, point and shoot. Like you're pointing your finger. The men looked uncertain. Lena, Caleb called. Come here. She approached warily. Caleb positioned her 20 feet from the line of men. She's the threat. She's reaching for a gun. You have 1 second. What do you do? The cowboy stared, clearly uncomfortable. What do you do? Caleb's voice cracked like a whip. Tom finally drew and dry-fired at the target beside Lena. Too slow. You're dead. Lena shot you in the chest while you were still clearing leather. Caleb moved down the line. Jesse, what about you? Jesse couldn't even draw. His hand froze. Dead. Caleb's voice was merciless. Pete? Pete drew and fired in one motion. The silhouette rocked. Alive. Barely. Caleb pointed at the others. See the difference? Pete didn't think, he reacted. That's what keeps you breathing. For 3 hours, Caleb drilled them relentlessly. Draw and fire. Again, again, again. When hands cramped, he made them switch hands. When men complained, he reminded them Dutch wouldn't care about their comfort.
Lena watched Jesse struggle. The young cowboy couldn't overcome his hesitation.
I can't, Jesse finally said, voice breaking. I can't just shoot someone like that. Caleb walked over slowly. Then you need to leave. Right now. What? I'm serious. If you can't pull the trigger, you're a liability. You'll get yourself killed, and probably the man next to you. Caleb's tone wasn't cruel, just factual. There's no shame in knowing your limits, but you can't stay. Jesse looked at Lena desperately. Miss Carter. She wanted to intervene, wanted to tell Caleb he was being too harsh. But she thought about Dutch Keller burning that Colorado homestead, about families dying because someone hesitated. Caleb's right, she heard herself say. If you can't fight, you can't be here when they come. Jesse's face crumpled. My family's been working this land for... I know. Lena's throat tightened. And I'm grateful. But I won't send you to die just to make myself feel better about defending my property. There's other work, Caleb added. Logistics, moving supplies, evacuating families when the shooting starts. That's just as important. Jesse nodded slowly, relief and shame warring on his face. I'll do that. Whatever helps. Good man. Caleb gripped his shoulder. Takes more courage to know your limits than to pretend you don't have them. After Jesse left, Tom spoke up. You're thinning our numbers. I'm keeping them alive. Caleb resumed the drill. 11 men who can fight beats 12 men where one panics and causes friendly fire. Now again, draw and fire. The practice continued until sunset. When Lena's hands were raw from practicing alongside the men, Caleb finally called a halt. Tomorrow, we do it for real, he announced. What does that mean? Tom asked. Means I'm going to town. I'm going to start a fight. And you're going to learn what pulling a trigger actually feels like. Caleb's eyes were cold. We'll find some syndicate sympathizers, men who deserve what's coming. You'll get your first taste of combat before Dutch arrives. Pete frowned. That's murder. No, that's war. Caleb looked at Lena. You have a problem with this? She should have. Every moral fiber should have screamed objection. Instead, she thought about those 3 bodies in the canyon, about the Malloy's burned barn, about the Colorado homestead with no survivors. Do it, she said. The men shifted uncomfortably. Lena, Pete started, my father never faced the Winchester Syndicate. She met each man's eyes. We're past the point of hoping they'll just leave us alone. Caleb's right. We need to be ready to kill, or we'll be the ones dying. Tom cleared his throat. When do we leave for town? Dawn. Caleb checked his rifle. Bring your best shooters. 3 men, no more. We go in quiet, handle business, get out. It's not about starting a war. It's about finishing your hesitation. After the others left, Lena found Caleb in the barn, checking his weapons with methodical precision. You're really going to kill people tomorrow, she said. I'm going to give your men a choice. Become killers or become victims. He didn't look up. Which would you prefer? I prefer there was another way. There isn't. Caleb set down his rifle. You think I like this? You think I enjoy turning ranch hands into soldiers? I think you're very good at it. I was trained to be good at it. Doesn't mean it doesn't cost me every time. He finally met her eyes. You asked me why I'm sick of watching good people lose. It's because I've lost too many myself. Friends, brothers, people who trusted me to lead them through hell. What happened? Caleb was quiet for a long moment. My unit got ambushed. Confederate holdouts. 2 years after the war supposedly ended, they hit us at night. We were undermanned, undersupplied, and completely unprepared. His voice went flat. Dutch was my second in command. He wanted to retreat. I insisted we hold the position. Orders from above. What happened? 23 men died following my orders. Dutch took the survivors and deserted. Called me a fool who valued orders over lives. Caleb's hands clenched. He was right. Lena stepped closer. You were following... I was following orders that got good men killed for no reason. A bridge that didn't matter. A position with no strategic value. He looked at her. That's what command costs. You live with the ghosts of every decision. Then why are you here? Why put yourself through this again? Because maybe this time, the people I'm training will actually survive. Caleb picked up his rifle again. And because Dutch needs to answer for what he's become. He went from soldier to mercenary to murderer. That's on me too.
You can't blame yourself for, can't I? His laugh was bitter. I broke him. My rigid adherence to authority, my refusal to adapt, that's what drove him to desert. And now he's killing innocent people for money. How is that not my responsibility? Lena understood then. This wasn't just about protecting a valley. It was about redemption. You're not responsible for his choices, she said quietly. Maybe not, but I'm responsible for mine, Caleb stood. And my choice is to make sure you and your people have a fighting chance, even if it means turning them into something they never wanted to be. What if I don't want that either? Then you shouldn't have asked me to stay. The truth of it settled between them. Lena had invited this, had begged him to teach them to fight. Now she was seeing the cost. Tomorrow, she said, when you go to town, I'm coming with you. No. This is my ranch, my fight. If my men are learning to kill, I learn alongside them. Caleb's jaw tightened. You're the leader. Leaders don't take unnecessary risks. Leaders don't ask their people to do things they won't do themselves. Lena crossed her arms. I'm going. You can argue, but it won't change my mind. For a moment, she thought he'd keep fighting. Then he nodded slowly. You ride in my sight at all times. You follow orders without question. And if I tell you to run, you run. Agreed? Agreed. Get some sleep. We leave before sunrise. Caleb walked past her toward the house. And Lena? Tomorrow, you might have to kill someone. Make sure you're ready for that before we ride out. She stood alone in the barn, hands still shaking from hours of practice. Ready? She'd never be ready. But she'd do it anyway. 4 horses left the ranch at dawn. Lena, Caleb, Pete, and Tom Millhouse. The town of Red Valley sat 2 hours south, a rough collection of saloons, supply stores, and desperate people. They rode in silence. Caleb had given clear instructions. Find syndicate men. Provoke a fight. Make it self-defense. Teach the lesson. Lena's stomach churned the entire ride. The town was just stirring when they arrived. Caleb tied his horse outside the largest saloon, a rough place called the Silver Dollar. They'll be inside, he said. Syndicate men drink here, brag about their work. How do you know? Tom asked. Because I've been watching them for 6 months. Caleb checked his weapons. I know where they sleep, what they drink, and how many of them are fast enough to be dangerous. Stay behind me. Watch how this works. They entered the saloon. 3 men sat at a corner table.
Hired guns by the look of them. Hard faces, expensive firearms, the arrogant posture of men who believe themselves untouchable. Caleb walked straight to their table. "You boys work for the Winchester Syndicate?" The largest one, a bearded man with a scar across his cheek, looked up slowly. "Who's asking?" "Someone who's tired of your employer terrorizing honest ranchers." Scarface smiled. "You got a complaint? Talk to our boss." "I'd rather talk to you." Caleb pulled out a chair and sat, uninvited. "About the Henderson place. Heard you poisoned their water." "Heard wrong." "No, I heard right. I also heard about the Malloy barn and the threats to Tom Millhouse." Caleb's voice stayed conversational. "See, I've been documenting everything. Names, dates, crimes. And I'm wondering, when the federal marshals arrive, how much rope will they need for 3 necks?" Scarface's hand drifted toward his gun. "You threatening us?" "I'm stating facts." Caleb leaned back. "But I'm a fair man. I'll give you a choice. Ride out of this valley today, or stay and face consequences." "Consequences?" The second man laughed. "From a washed-up drifter and a woman?" Lena's hand tightened on her rifle. "From every rancher in this valley," Caleb corrected. "We're organizing, building defenses, training to fight. When Dutch Keller arrives, he's going to find a very different situation than he expects." Scarface stood slowly. "You just made a big mistake." "No," Caleb's voice went cold. "You made the mistake 6 months ago, when you started terrorizing people who just want to live in peace." "We're going to enjoy burning your ranch." "You're welcome to try," Caleb stood. "But first, you're going to apologize to Miss Carter for that comment." "The hell I will!" Caleb moved. One moment he was standing, the next, Scarface was on the ground, Caleb's boot on his chest, a gun pressed under his chin. "Apologize," Caleb repeated. The other 2 men reached for weapons. Pete and Tom drew faster. Caleb had positioned them perfectly. "Your friends draw, you die," Caleb told Scarface. "Your friends live, you apologize and walk away. Simple choice." Scarface's eyes burned with hatred. "Sorry." "Sorry what?" "Sorry, Miss Carter." Caleb stepped back. "Now leave, and tell Dutch that Caleb Ward is waiting for him." The recognition that flashed across Scarface's eyes was instant and terrifying. "Ward?" he whispered. "The Ward?" "The same." Caleb holstered his weapon. "I assume my reputation preceded me?" Scarface scrambled up, suddenly looking much less confident. "Dutch is going to kill you slow." "He can try. He failed before." Caleb gestured toward the door. "Get out." The 3 men fled. Tom exhaled shakily. "What the hell just happened?" "You just learned lesson 1, Caleb said. "Most fights are won before a shot is fired. Confidence, positioning, reputation." He looked at Lena. "Sometimes the threat of violence is enough." "But you were ready to kill them," Lena said. "Always. That's how they know you're serious." Caleb headed for the door. "Let's go. We just accelerated Dutch's timeline. He'll come sooner now." They rode back in tense silence. Halfway home, Pete finally spoke. "They knew your name, called you the Ward. What does that mean?" Caleb didn't answer immediately. "Means I have a history," he finally said. "One that Dutch helped build." "What kind of history?" Tom pressed. "The kind that gets men killed." Caleb spurred his horse faster. "The kind that's about to catch up with me." Lena rode beside him. "They were afraid of you." "Fear's a tool, like any other." "Is that what you are? A tool for violence?" Caleb's expression darkened. I'm whatever I need to be to keep people alive, even if it makes them hate me."
"I don't hate you." He looked at her then, really looked, and something shifted in his eyes. "You will," he said quietly. "Before this is over, you'll hate me for what I make you become." "Don't tell me what I'll feel." "I'm telling you what always happens. People like you, good people who fight because they have to, they change. They do things they never imagined. And when it's over, they look at themselves and see monsters." His voice went rough. "I know, because I see it in the mirror every morning." "Then why keep fighting?" "Because monsters are useful against worse monsters." Caleb faced forward. "And Dutch is worse." They rode the rest of the way in silence. But Lena couldn't stop thinking about his words, about the pain in his voice when he called himself a monster, about the fact that she was starting to see him differently, not as a stranger, not as a soldier, as someone carrying wounds that might never heal. That night, Lena found him standing watch on the North Ridge. The valley spread out below, peaceful and deceptive. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Don't sleep much anymore." Caleb didn't turn. "Too many ghosts." "The men who died?" "Among others." He was quiet for a moment. "After the war, I tried to settle down. Bought a small place in Kansas. Thought maybe I could be normal." "What happened?" "Turns out killing changes you in ways you can't undo. I'd wake up reaching for weapons that weren't there. Jump at loud noises. See threats in every shadow." His hands clenched. "My wife left after 6 months. Said she'd married a soldier, but a stranger came home." Lena's heart ached. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. She was right." Caleb finally looked at her. "I'm warning you because you still have a chance to be different. You haven't crossed the line yet. You can still walk away." "No, I can't." "Yes, you can. Sell the ranch. Take your people somewhere safe. Let someone else fight this fight." "And who would that someone be? You?" Lena stepped closer. "You're barely holding yourself together. You've got ghosts you can't shake and a death wish disguised as redemption. You think I'm going to let you sacrifice yourself while I run?"
"Better me than you."
"Why? Because I'm a woman? Because I'm supposed to need protecting?"
"Because you're good." Caleb's voice cracked. "Because the world needs people like you more than people like me. Because if you become what I am, that's another light gone out, and there are damn few lights left." The honesty gutted her. "You're not as dark as you think," she said softly. "You don't know what I've done. I know you came back. I know you're teaching us to survive. I know you could have kept writing, but you chose to stay." Lena touched his arm. "That's not darkness. That's someone who still cares." Caleb looked at her hand on his arm like it was something precious and dangerous. "Lena." "Dutch is coming," she interrupted. "We both know it. And when he does, I need to know you're fighting to win, not fighting to die." "What makes you think, because I see it in your eyes, you think facing Dutch is your penance, your way of balancing the scales?" She gripped his arm tighter. "But dying won't bring back those 23 men. It'll just make their sacrifice meaningless." Caleb was silent. Then, "You're wrong about me." "Am I?" "I'm not fighting to die." His jaw set. "I'm fighting to make sure Dutch dies. There's a difference." "Good." Lena released his arm. "Because I need you alive. My people need you alive. And whether you believe it or not, you deserve to be alive." She walked away before he could argue, but she felt his eyes on her back the entire way. And she wondered when protecting her ranch had become about protecting him, too. 3 days later, a rider came at dawn. Not syndicate, not Dutch. A boy from town, barely 15, horse-lathered from hard riding. "Miss Carter," he gasped. "You need to come quick." Lena grabbed his arm. "What happened?" "The Henderson place. They hit it last night. Burned everything. Mr. Henderson—" The boy's voice broke. "He's dead. Mrs. Henderson and the kids barely escaped." Ice flooded Lena's veins. Caleb appeared beside her. "Where are they now?" "Doc Miller's. But Miss Carter, they left a message. On the barn." The boy's hands shook. It said, "Ward's friends die first." Caleb's expression went deadly calm. "How many attackers?" he asked. "Mrs. Henderson said 20, maybe more. They came fast, burned everything in minutes." "Caleb," Lena started, "this isn't—" "My fault?" He cut her off. "It's exactly my fault. I provoked them, used my name as a weapon. And now the Hendersons paid the price." "We're going after them," Tom declared, emerging from the house with other ranchers. "No!" Caleb's voice was iron. "That's exactly what they want. Scatter us. Pick us off individually." "A man is dead," Tom shouted. "And more will die if you act like hot-headed fools." Caleb rounded on them. "This is Dutch's opening move. He's testing our response. If we fragment, pursue, seek revenge, he'll ambush us in pieces. We hold position. We fortify. We prepare. While he burns more families?" Pete's voice shook. "While we make sure he can't." Caleb looked at Lena. "Gather everyone. Every rancher, every family, every person in this valley who won't submit. Bring them here." "Here?" she repeated. "Your ranch is the most defensible position. We consolidate. Make this the fortress. When Dutch comes, and he will come, we'll be ready." His eyes held hers. "But we only get one chance. We run now, we lose everything." Lena understood what he was asking. Make Carter Ridge the final battleground. Risk everything on one defense. "Do it," she said. Tom protested. "You're putting all our eggs in one basket." "I'm making a stand." Lena's voice cut through objections. "Caleb's right. Dutch wants us scattered and afraid. Instead, we show him strength, unity. We make him come to us on our terms." "And if we lose?" someone asked. "Then we lose together." She looked at the assembled men. "But I'd rather die defending something I believe in than live running from men like Dutch Keller. Who's with me?" Slowly, hands rose. Not everyone, but enough. "Get moving," Caleb ordered. "I want every family inside these walls by tomorrow night. Livestock to the far pasture. Valuables buried. We're going into siege." As the men dispersed, Lena found Caleb alone. "Henderson's blood is on my hands," he said. "It's on Dutch's hands. I drew Dutch here. I used my reputation. You tried to scare them away." Lena forced him to look at her. "Dutch chose to escalate. That's not your fault." "Then whose fault is 23 dead soldiers? Whose fault is Henderson? Whose fault is everyone who'll die when Dutch attacks?" His control was cracking. "I'm poison, Lena. Everyone around me dies." "Then I guess I'm already poisoned." She stepped closer. "Because I'm not letting you carry this alone. We made this choice together. We face the consequences together." "You don't understand what you're saying." "I understand perfectly," her voice gentled. "You're afraid. Afraid that caring about this place, these people, caring about me, means you'll fail us like you failed before. But running won't change that. Dying won't change that. Only fighting like hell to win will change that." Caleb's walls finally cracked. "I can't lose again," he whispered. "Then don't."
Lena gripped his shoulders. Don't you dare die on me, Caleb Ward. Don't you dare give up. Because I need you. Not as a weapon. Not as a soldier. As the man who came back when he could have kept riding. For one suspended moment, something passed between them. Something beyond strategy and survival. Something that felt dangerously like hope. Then Caleb pulled away. We have work to do. But his eyes told her he'd heard every word. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to believe them. The work consumed them. Within 24 hours, Carter Ridge transformed from a ranch into a refugee camp. Wagons rolled in, carrying frightened families, salvaged belongings, livestock. The Porters arrived with their 3 children. The Callahans brought elderly parents. Even families Lena barely knew sought shelter behind her walls. By nightfall, 47 people crowded the property. Caleb moved through them like a general inspecting troops. He assigned positions, delegated tasks, spoke in calm directives that somehow made terrified ranchers believe they could survive. Lena watched him organize chaos into order and wondered how someone so broken could hold so many pieces together. Miss Carter, Sarah Porter approached, clutching her youngest daughter. Where should we sleep? Main house. Take any room upstairs. Lena gestured toward the barn. Older children can bed down there if they're brave enough. And when they come? Sarah's voice dropped. When the fighting starts? Root cellar, already reinforced. You'll be safe there. Will we? Sarah's eyes searched Lena's face. Mr. Henderson thought he'd be safe too. The accusation hung unspoken. Henderson was alone, Lena said quietly. We're not. That makes all the difference. Sarah didn't look convinced, but she nodded and moved away. Pete appeared at Lena's elbow. That's the last of them. Everyone's accounted for. Defenses? Stone walls are up along the north ridge, trenches reinforced. Caleb's got sharpshooters positioned on every high point. Pete's face showed strain. Lena, we've got women and children here. If this goes wrong, it won't. You can't promise that. No, Lena met his eyes. But I can promise we'll fight like hell to make sure they're protected. That's all anyone can do. Pete studied her for a long moment. Your daddy would be proud. And terrified. He'd understand. Lena's throat tightened. He always said some things are worth dying for. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. After Pete left, Lena found Caleb on the water tower, scanning the horizon with field glasses. Anything? She called up. Too quiet. He climbed down. Dutch should have made another move by now. Maybe Henderson scared him off. No, he's planning. Caleb's jaw tightened. Probably gathering more men. When he comes, it'll be overwhelming force. He doesn't do half measures. How long do we have? 2 days, maybe 3. He glanced at the families settling in. Are you ready to evacuate the children if it comes to that? Evacuate where? If we lose here, Dutch takes the whole valley. There's a canyon route north, leads to the railway. We could get the families out, buy them time. No, Lena's voice was firm. We hold. Everyone. If we start evacuating, panic sets in. We need people to believe we can win. Even if we can't? Especially then. She looked at him. Isn't that what you did during the war? Made your men believe when the odds were impossible? Caleb's expression darkened. And 23 of them died believing my lies. They weren't lies. They were hope. There's a difference. Tell that to their widows. Lena grabbed his arm. Stop. You can't lead these people while drowning in guilt. They need the man who walked into that saloon with absolute confidence. not the ghost who thinks he deserves to die. Maybe the ghost is the real version. Then be the lie. Her grip tightened. Be the hero they need, even if you don't believe it. Fake it until we survive. Then you can fall apart. Caleb stared at her. You're asking me to pretend. I'm asking you to lead. To be the weapon you keep calling yourself. To save these people, even if you can't save yourself. Her voice softened. Please. Something shifted in his face. The walls rebuilt. The soldier returned. All right. He pulled free gently. But when this is over, don't be surprised if the man left standing isn't worth knowing. I'll take that risk. He almost smiled. Stubborn. You knew that already. Doesn't make it less infuriating. Caleb started walking. Come on. I need to show you something. She followed him to the barn, where he'd set up a makeshift command center. Maps covered the walls. Weapon caches lined the corners. A detailed diagram showed every defensive position. This is our kill zone. He pointed to the open ground north of the ranch. When Dutch attacks, he'll come from here. It's the only approach with cover. We let him commit his forces, then we hit him from 3 sides. Crossfire. Exactly. But it requires precise timing. If anyone breaks position early, the whole thing collapses. His finger traced lines on the map. You'll command the west flank. Pete takes east. Tom holds the center. I'll be mobile, wherever the fighting's worst. You're putting yourself in the most danger. I'm the best shot. Makes sense. He looked at her. Can you handle your position? It means ordering men to hold, even when they want to run. Even when friends are dying. Lena's hands clenched. I can handle it. Prove it. Caleb pulled out a pocket watch. Drill starts in 10 minutes. I want every defender in position. Anyone who's slow, anyone who questions orders, you deal with them. Publicly. Harshly. Make them understand hesitation kills. You want me to be cruel. I want you to be effective. His eyes held hers. Can you do that? She thought about Sarah Porter's fear, about the children sleeping in her barn, about Henderson's burned body. Yes, she said, and meant it. The drill was brutal. Caleb shouted orders. Men scrambled to positions. Lena stood at her post, watching, judging, her heart hammering. Tom was 5 seconds late reaching his position. Millhouse, she called. You're dead. Dutch's men just cut you down. Tom flushed. I was helping. I don't care what you were doing. You're dead. Your men are leaderless. The west flank collapses. We all die. She pointed at the ground. Get down. Stay down. You don't get to participate anymore. Tom's face reddened with humiliation, but he dropped. The other men moved faster after that. Caleb ran them through scenarios for 3 hours. Ambushes, flanking maneuvers, what to do if leaders fell, how to retreat without panicking. When men faltered, Lena corrected them coldly. When mistakes repeated, she removed them from the line. By the end, everyone was exhausted, angry, and terrified. Perfect, according to Caleb. Fear keeps you sharp, he told them. Comfortable men die. Scared men survive. After dismissal, Tom confronted Lena. That was humiliating. That was necessary. She didn't back down. You think Dutch cares about your pride? You think enemy bullets wait while you help someone? I was checking on a kid who looked ready to bolt. Then you assign someone else to do it. You don't abandon your position. Lena stepped closer. I need you sharp, Tom. Not kind, not gentle. Sharp. Can you be that? Tom's anger faded to grudging respect. You've changed. I'm adapting. She softened slightly. We all are. It's the only way through this.
Your father used to say that. Tom's voice went rough. Right before hard decisions. We adapt or we die. He was right. He also said leadership costs pieces of your soul. Tom looked at her searchingly. You willing to pay that price? I already am. After he left, Lena found her hands shaking. She'd become someone she didn't recognize. Hard, unforgiving, willing to hurt feelings to save lives. Caleb had been right. Command had a cost. She just hadn't expected to feel it so soon. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She walked the perimeter, checking guards, trying to quiet her racing thoughts. She found Caleb sitting alone near the North Ridge, staring at nothing. You should rest, she said. Can't. His voice was hollow. Keep seeing their faces. The 23? All of them. Every man I've gotten killed. Every choice that cost lives. He looked at her. You handled the drill well today. Maybe too well. You told me to be harsh. I know. Doesn't make it easier to watch you lose pieces of yourself. He stood. This is what I meant, about becoming something you hate. I don't hate myself. Not yet. Caleb's expression held old pain. But you will, after the battle, after you've ordered men to die, after you've pulled a trigger and watched someone fall because of you. That's when it hits. That's when you realize you can't go back. Then I'll go forward. Lena faced him. You keep trying to protect me from this, from the cost, but I'm already paying it. Every second I spend preparing to kill people, that's a piece I'll never get back. So stop warning me and start trusting I can handle what comes. It's not about trust. It's exactly about trust. She stepped closer. You don't trust that I'm strong enough. You don't trust that I can carry the weight. You think I'll break. Everyone breaks eventually. Then I'll break after we win. Her voice rose. But I won't break before. I won't run. I won't collapse. I will stand here and fight for every person behind these walls, because that's what leaders do. And if you can't believe that, then maybe you should leave right now. Caleb's eyes widened. You want me to go? No, the truth rushed out. I want you to stay. I want you to fight beside me. I want to know that when hell comes, you'll be there. Her voice cracked. But I need you to believe I'm capable of handling my part, because if you don't believe in me, how can they? Silence stretched between them. Then Caleb did something unexpected. He smiled, real and unguarded. You're right, he said quietly. I've been protecting someone who doesn't need protection. I've been treating you like glass, when you're steel. Stubborn steel. You said so yourself. The best kind. He reached out, hesitated, then gently touched her shoulder. I'm sorry. For underestimating you. For trying to carry everything alone. Don't. Lena covered his hand with hers. Don't apologize for caring. Just trust me to be what I need to be. His hand turned, fingers interlacing with hers. For one perfect moment, the war fell away. Just two people standing in darkness, holding on to something fragile and fierce. Then Caleb pulled back. We should... I know. Lena's throat tightened. Get some rest. Big day tomorrow. Lena, don't. She turned away before he could see her face. Don't say something we'll both regret. Not when we might not survive long enough to mean it. She walked away, feeling his eyes follow her, knowing if she looked back, she'd say something foolish. Something true. Something that might break them both. The scout arrived at dawn, horse lathered, eyes wild. They're coming, he gasped.
Dutch's army. At least 60 men. Maybe more. The camp erupted. Caleb was barking orders before Lena even processed the words. Everyone to positions. Families to the cellar. Move! Chaos became choreography. Children crying, women gathering supplies, men running for weapons. Lena found Caleb loading rifles. 60? You said 20. I was wrong. His face showed no emotion. Dutch brought everyone. This isn't a raid. It's an execution. Can we hold? We're about to find out. He thrust a rifle at her. West flank. Don't leave it for any reason. If they break through, fall back to the second line. Understood? Understood. He caught her wrist. Lena, if this goes bad, it won't. But if it does, his grip tightened. The cellar has a tunnel, leads to the canyon. Get the families out. Don't be a hero. Neither should you. I stopped being a hero a long time ago. Something haunted flickered in his eyes. But maybe I can still be useful. Before she could respond, Tom shouted, They're on the ridge! Caleb released her. Go, now! Lena ran for her position, heart hammering, rifle heavy in her hands. From the west ridge, she could see them, a dark mass moving through the valley. Mounted men, armed to the teeth, riding with terrible purpose. At their head, a figure in a long coat. Dutch Keller. Even from a distance, Lena felt his presence. Cold, inevitable, death given form. Positions! She called to her men. Wait for my signal! The defenders settled into trenches, rifles ready, fear thick as smoke. Lena scanned the approaching force, trying to count, trying to assess. Too many. They were too many. But she didn't say it. Couldn't say it. Hold steady, she called instead. We've trained for this. We're ready. Lies, but necessary ones. Across the compound, she saw Caleb on the water tower, rifle in hand, utterly still, watching, calculating. Their eyes met across the distance. He nodded once. She nodded back. Then Dutch's army crested the final ridge, and the world narrowed to survival. But they didn't attack. Dutch's forces stopped just outside rifle range. 60 men, heavily armed, waiting. A single rider broke from the group, tall, commanding. He rode forward until he was close enough to be heard. Carter Ranch! His voice carried across the valley. I am Dutch Keller. I speak for the Winchester Syndicate. You have 1 hour to evacuate. After that, anyone remaining will be considered hostile. There will be no mercy, no negotiation, only consequences. Silence answered him. Dutch continued. I know you're in there, Caleb. I can feel you watching. You cost me good men, damaged my reputation. That has a price. From the water tower, Caleb stood. Even from her position, Lena saw the recognition pass between them. Old comrades. Old wounds. The price is on you, Dutch, Caleb called back. You chose this. You chose to become the thing we fought against. I chose survival. Dutch's voice held bitter rage. You chose blind obedience. You got good men killed for a bridge that didn't matter. Well, I won't die for someone else's meaningless orders. I'll die for money, for purpose, for things that actually mean something. You'll just die, Caleb said quietly. Somehow his words carried. That's all that's waiting for you here. Dutch laughed. Still so certain, still so sure you're righteous. He gestured at the ranch. These people trust you, Caleb. They believe you can protect them, just like those soldiers believed. How many of them will you get killed this time?
All of them? Lena saw Caleb flinch. Dutch saw it too. That's what I thought. You're not here to save them. You're here to find a noble death. Well, I'll give you one. Surrender yourself. Walk out here. Face me alone. And I'll let these good people live. The offer hung in the air. Lena's heart stopped. She saw Caleb's hand tighten on his rifle, saw him looking at the families huddled in the cellar, at the men in trenches, at 47, people who might die because of him. "No!" she screamed before thinking. "Don't you dare!" But Caleb was already moving, already climbing down from the tower. "What are you doing?" Pete grabbed him. "You can't seriously—" "Let go." Caleb's voice was dead calm. "This is how it has to be." "Like hell!" Tom blocked his path. "We fight together or not at all." "You fight to protect these families. I fight to give you that chance." Caleb pushed past them. "Dutch wants me. Let him have me. Everyone else lives." "You're a fool if you think he'll honor that," Pete shouted. "Maybe. But it's a chance." Caleb kept walking toward the gate. Lena ran, sprinted across the compound, reached him just as he touched the latch. "Stop!" She grabbed his arm. "You're not doing this." "It's already done." "No!" Her grip tightened desperately. "This is exactly what you want. The noble sacrifice, the redemption through death. But it's a lie, Caleb. It won't save anyone."
It won't fix what happened. It'll just be another waste. It'll save you. His eyes met hers, and she saw the truth. That's all that matters. Don't you dare put that on me. Tears burned her throat. Don't you dare make your death my burden. I won't carry it. I won't survive knowing you died because you thought I was worth more than you are. You are worth more. No! She pulled him close, forehead to forehead. We're worth the same. We fight together. We survive together. Or we fall together. But I won't let you walk out there alone. Lena, I love this ranch. I love these people. But I'm not watching you die for them. The words tore out. So if you walk out there, I walk with you. And we both die. Is that what you want? Caleb's face shattered. You can't. I can. I will. She held his gaze. Choose. Die alone or fight beside me. The moment stretched forever. Then Caleb's hand covered hers. You're the most stubborn, infuriating, impossible woman I've ever met. I know. A sob broke through. What's your choice? He looked at Dutch, waiting outside, at the ranch behind them, at her face, tear-streaked and fierce. We fight, he whispered. Together? Together. Lena pulled him back from the gate, back to the defenses, back to the living. Dutch's laughter carried across the valley. So romantic, the brave soldier and his cowgirl. This will be a story worth telling. Caleb, he shouted again, you just condemned them all. Their blood is on your hands. Again! Caleb's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. Instead, he climbed back to his position, raised his rifle, and waited. Lena returned to the west flank, heart hammering, hands shaking. She'd just gambled everything on keeping Caleb alive. Now they had to survive to make it mean something. Dutch raised his hand. You had your chance. Now you face the consequences. The army began to move. Slowly at first, then faster. Thunder of hooves, glint of weapons. Death approaching like a storm. Hold! Caleb's voice rang clear. Wait for optimal range. The distance closed. 500 yards. 400. Lena's finger rested on the trigger, every muscle screaming to fire. Hold! Caleb commanded. 300 yards. 200. The enemy was so close she could see faces. Young men, old men, all carrying guns, all coming to kill. Now! Caleb shouted. 40 rifles fired as one. The battle for Carter Ridge had begun.
The first volley tore through Dutch's front line. Men fell. Horses screamed. The charge faltered. "Reload!" Lena shouted. "Faster!" Her hands moved on instinct. Powder, ball, ram. She'd done this drill 1,000 times. Now it meant survival. The second wave came harder. Dutch's men had scattered, using their fallen horses as cover.
They returned fire. A bullet cracked past Lena's head. She ducked, heart slamming. "West flank, hold position," she commanded. "Aim for center mass." Her men fired in rotation. The discipline Caleb had drilled into them held. Barely. Across the compound, Tom's centerline was taking the worst of it. Dutch had concentrated fire there, trying to break through. "Tom needs support," Pete yelled. "No," Lena screamed back. "We hold. That's the plan." But she saw Tom's men starting to waver. Saw one cowboy break and run for cover. Then Caleb was there, moving through gunfire like he was invincible. He grabbed the fleeing man, shoved him back into position. "You run, we all die," his voice cut through chaos. "Hold the line." The man stayed. Caleb took position beside Tom, firing with mechanical precision. Every shot found a target. For 10 minutes, they held. The bodies piled up on both sides. Then Dutch changed tactics. "They're flanking!" someone screamed. "East side!" Lena's stomach dropped. A group of riders was circling wide, trying to hit Pete's position from behind. "Pete, behind you!" But Pete had already seen them. His men swiveled, firing at the new threat. The east flank erupted in gunfire. "We can't hold two directions," Pete shouted. Caleb was already running. "Pull back to secondary positions. Fighting retreat." "We're abandoning the outer line?" Tom yelled. "We're adapting," Caleb fired as he ran. "Fall back in order. Cover each other." The retreat was controlled chaos. Men fired, ran, reloaded, fired again. Lena's section held the west flank, providing covering fire. Then she saw him. Dutch Keller, riding through the carnage, untouched and terrible. He was directing his forces with hand signals, reorganizing them even as they attacked. He was magnificent and horrifying. "Caleb!" Lena screamed. "Dutch is coordinating them!" Caleb saw. His face went cold. "Take them out and they'll scatter." "I don't have a shot." "I do." Caleb climbed onto the barn roof, rifle steady. "No!" Lena's heart lurched. "You're exposed." He ignored her, took aim, fired. The shot went wide. Dutch's horse reared at the last second. But Dutch saw the shooter, saw Caleb silhouetted against the sky. Their eyes met across the battlefield. Dutch smiled and raised his own rifle. "Caleb, get down!" Lena screamed. 2 shots fired simultaneously. Dutch's horse collapsed. Caleb tumbled from the roof. "No!" Lena abandoned her position, running for him. Pete grabbed her. "You can't! Your flank will collapse!" "Let me go!" "Lena, look at me!" Pete shook her. "He's alive. I see him moving. But if you leave your position, everyone here dies." The words cut through panic. Caleb was crawling behind cover, holding his shoulder. Blood showed, but he was moving. Alive. "Get back to your post," Pete pushed her. "Trust him to handle himself." Lena ran back, throat burning, hands shaking. From the west ridge, she could see Caleb below, pinned down, but fighting. He'd lost his rifle, but had his revolver. He was outnumbered, outgunned, but still fighting. "Focus on your sector," she ordered herself. Then louder. "West flank. Anyone breaks through here, they reach the families. We hold this line or we die trying." Her men rallied. The firing intensified. Minutes blurred into hours. Lena lost track of time, of how many shots she'd fired, of everything except reload and aim and fire and pray. Then Tom's voice cut through.
They're retreating! Dutch is pulling back! Impossible, but true. The enemy forces were withdrawing, dragging wounded, leaving bodies behind. Dutch himself sat on a borrowed horse at the ridge, watching. Even from a distance, Lena felt his assessment. This wasn't defeat. This was intermission. "Don't celebrate yet," Caleb appeared, shoulder wrapped in makeshift bandage, blood soaked through. "He's regrouping. This was reconnaissance. Now he knows our capabilities." "How long until they come again?" Tom asked. "Hour, maybe 2. Caleb swayed slightly. "We need to prepare. Redistribute ammunition. Tend wounded. Reinforce weak points." "You need a doctor," Lena said. "I need to make sure we survive the next wave." Caleb's eyes found hers. "We held, but we lost 8 men. 8. And Dutch hasn't even committed his full force yet." The number hit like a fist. 8 men. 8 families. "Who?" Lena whispered. Pete listed names. Men she knew. Men she'd trained. Men who'd trusted her to lead them through this. "Sarah Porter's husband," Pete finished quietly. "Took a shot to the chest defending the east flank. Dead before he hit the ground." Lena's vision swam. "Sarah, does she know?" "Not yet. She's in the cellar with the children." "I'll tell her." The words came out hollow. "Lena, there's no time," Caleb started. "I'll tell her," Lena's voice hardened. "Those men died following my orders. Their families deserve to hear it from me, not later. Now." She walked toward the cellar before anyone could argue. The families huddled below, faces pale with fear. Sarah Porter sat against the wall, holding her youngest daughter, eyes searching Lena's face. She knew before Lena spoke. "No," Sarah whispered. "No, he was careful. He promised. He died protecting his position. He saved lives." The words felt like ash. "I'm so sorry, Sarah." Sarah's wail cut through the cellar. Her daughter started crying. Other children joined in. Lena stood there, absorbing their grief, letting it carve out pieces of her. This was the cost Pete had warned about. The weight Tom had mentioned. The price of leadership. "Is it over?" an elderly woman asked. "Can we leave?" "No." Lena forced steel into her voice. "They're coming back. We held the first attack. We'll hold the second." "How many more have to die?" someone demanded. "As many as it takes." Lena met every eye. "I know you're scared. I know you've lost people you love. But if we surrender, Dutch kills us all anyway. He doesn't leave witnesses. So we fight. We endure. We survive." "And if we don't?" Sarah asked through tears. "Then we go down protecting what we believe in." Lena crouched beside her. "Frank died so his children could live. Don't let that be for nothing. Stay strong. Stay hidden. Stay alive. That's how you honor him." Sarah nodded, broken but unbeaten. Lena climbed out of the cellar, feeling decades older. Caleb waited at the top. "That was hard." "It was necessary." She looked at him, really looked. "You're bleeding worse than you said." "Bullet grazed me. I'll live." "Let me see." "Lena, let me see." She unwrapped his bandage. The wound was deep, still seeping blood. "This needs proper stitching." "After the next attack. Now." She grabbed his good arm. "You're no use to anyone if you bleed out. 5 minutes, that's all I need." He didn't argue. She led him to the house, found needle and thread, whiskey for disinfecting. Her hands shook as she worked. "I thought you were dead," she said quietly, "when you fell from that roof." "Takes more than a fall to kill me." "Dutch almost managed it." "Dutch always almost manages it. That's why he's dangerous." Caleb winced as she pulled the thread through. We can't keep playing defense. He'll wear us down, probe for weaknesses, then hit hard when we're exhausted. What do you suggest? Offense. His eyes met hers. I go out there. Find Dutch. End this personal. Absolutely not. Lena's voice was ice. We just had this conversation. You don't get to throw your life away. I'm not throwing it away. I'm using it strategically. You're using it suicidally. She tied off the stitches. And I'm not losing you to some misguided sense of honor. We fight smart. Together. Stubborn. You love that about me. The words hung between them. Caleb's expression shifted.
Lena, don't. She stepped back. Don't say it. Not now. Not when we might die in the next hour. Her voice cracked. If we survive this, if we actually make it through, then you can say whatever you want. But not before.
What if I don't get another chance?
Then die knowing I felt the same way.
The admission tore out.
But don't you dare use that as permission to be reckless.
Caleb stood slowly. For one suspended moment, the war disappeared. Just two people, bloodied and terrified, holding on to something that felt like hope. Then Pete burst in. They're moving. Dutch is positioning for another attack. The moment shattered. Positions, Caleb ordered. Everyone back to defensive lines. They ran together, side by side, knowing this might be the last time. Dutch's second attack was different. No charge, no overwhelming force, just systematic, patient pressure. Small groups hitting different points, testing defenses, looking for cracks. He's learning our patterns, Caleb said grimly, looking for the weak spot. What happens when he finds it? Tom asked. He pours everything through, breaks us open. Caleb surveyed the battlefield. We need to create a false weakness, bait him into attacking where we're strongest. How? Lena asked. Pull back from the North Ridge. Make it look like we're abandoning position due to casualties. When he commits forces there, we hit him from concealed positions. Caleb looked at her. But it means exposing the approach to the main house. If I'm wrong, they'll reach the cellar. The weight of it settled on Lena's shoulders. Risk the families to win the battle. Do it, she said. You're sure? No, but I trust your judgment. She gripped his arm. Make it count. Caleb ordered the retreat from the North Ridge. Made it look panicked, desperate. Dutch saw. His forces surged forward, sensing victory. Wait for it, Caleb whispered. Wait. The enemy poured onto the north approach, 50 men concentrating their force. Now! Hidden positions erupted. Crossfire from three sides caught Dutch's forces in a killing zone. The carnage was terrible. Men fell screaming. The organized attack became chaos. Push them! Caleb shouted. Drive them back! The defenders surged forward, taking ground, pressing advantage. For 10 glorious minutes, they were winning. Then Lena heard the sound that changed everything. Hoofbeats. From the south. Impossible. No one was supposed to be south. Caleb! She screamed. Behind us! A second force, 20 riders, came from the canyon route, the route that was supposed to be impassable. Dutch had outmaneuvered them. It's a trap! Pete yelled. The north attack was a feint! The southern force hit the undefended rear. Suddenly, defenders were fighting two directions, coordination collapsing. Fall back! Caleb's voice carried desperate authority. Everyone to the main house! Protect the cellar! The retreat was chaos. Men running, firing, dying. Lena saw Tom go down, clutching his leg. She ran to him, dragging him toward cover. Go! He gasped. Save yourself! Shut up and move! She hauled him behind a water trough. just as bullets tore through where they'd been standing. Pete appeared, providing covering fire. "Get him inside!" Together they dragged Tom to the house. Blood poured from his thigh. "I can't feel my leg," Tom whispered. "You're going to be fine." Lena pressed cloth to the wound. "You're going to be fine." But she didn't know if she believed it. Outside, the battle raged. Caleb was everywhere, holding positions, rallying men, killing with cold efficiency. He was magnificent. And outnumbered. "We're losing," Pete said flatly.
"They're going to overrun us." "No," Lena grabbed her rifle. "No, they're not. Get Tom to the cellar. Barricade it. If they breach the house, you fight them in the corridor. Make every inch cost them." "What are you doing?" "What I should have done from the start." She checked her ammunition. "Fighting like I've got nothing to lose." She ran back outside, where Caleb was pinned behind the barn. "West flank collapsed," he shouted. "They're circling." "Then we stop circling." Lena fired at the nearest rider, dropping him. "We go on offense." "That's suicide." "It's all we've got left." She met his eyes. "You taught me to adapt, so let's adapt. We charge them. Break their momentum. Make them afraid." Caleb stared, then something wild lit in his eyes. "You're insane." "I learned from you," she reloaded. "Are you with me?" For answer, he stood, firing as he ran. "Everyone who can still fight! On me!" 15 men rose from cover, bloodied, desperate, but unbroken. They charged. It was madness. It was beautiful. The shock of it caught Dutch's forces off guard. They'd expected a defensive stand, not a counterattack. Lena fought like something wild. Rifle, pistol, even using the rifle butt as a club when ammunition ran dry. Beside her, Caleb was a force of nature. He moved through enemy lines like death itself, and men fell before him. "Push!" Lena screamed. "Push them back!" And impossibly, incredibly, it worked. Dutch's forces, caught between the charging defenders and their own confusion, started to fall back. "They're breaking!" someone yelled. But Dutch wasn't breaking. He was adapting. "Ward!" His voice cut through gunfire. "Enough!" He stood alone, 50 feet away, revolver ready, waiting. "This is between us," Dutch called. "Always has been. End it now." Caleb froze. "Everyone stand down." "Don't you dare," Lena started. "If I don't face him, he'll never stop. You know that." Caleb looked at her one last time. "If this goes wrong, get everyone out. The tunnel. Just go." "Caleb!" But he was already walking toward Dutch. The battlefield went silent. Even the wounded stopped groaning. 2 men, 20 feet apart. Old comrades turned enemies. "You could have walked away," Dutch said. "Could have let me have this valley. But you had to play hero again." "I'm no hero. Just someone tired of watching you destroy lives." "Funny. That's exactly what you did to our unit." Dutch's hand hovered near his gun. 23 men, Caleb. 23. Because you wouldn't question orders. "I know." Caleb's voice was hollow. "I know what I cost them. I live with it every day." "Then why keep fighting? Why not just die like you want to?" "Because dying's easy. Living with what I've done, that's the real punishment." Caleb's eyes were steady. "But I won't let you use my guilt to justify your evil. You chose this path. You chose to become a killer for hire. That's on you." "Fair enough." Dutch smiled, cold. "Draw whenever you're ready." Time crystallized. Lena couldn't breathe.
couldn't move. The two men stared at each other across 20 feet of blood-soaked earth. Then Caleb's hand moved. Both guns cleared leather simultaneously. Both men fired. Both men fell.
No!
Lena's scream tore from somewhere primal. She ran to Caleb. He lay in the dirt, blood spreading across his chest. His eyes found hers, struggling to focus.
Dutch?
He whispered. Lena looked. Dutch lay motionless, a red stain in the center of his chest.
Dead,
she said.
You got him. Good.
Caleb's breathing was labored.
The tunnel. Get them out.
Stop talking. Her hands pressed against his wound. Blood poured between her fingers.
Someone get a doctor, now!
Lena. His hand found hers.
Listen, you have to. No.
Tears blurred her vision. You don't get to say goodbye. You promised to fight beside me. You promised.
I did fight.
A weak smile touched his lips.
We won.
We didn't win anything if you die. You won everything. His grip tightened. You became exactly who you needed to be. Strong. Brave. A real leader. I don't want to be a leader. I want you to live. Can't always get what we want. His breathing slowed. But I got to see you. One more time. That's enough.
It's not enough, her voice broke. You were supposed to stay. You were supposed to...
Love you? The words came out barely audible. Already do. Since the canyon. When you spat blood on that rustler's boots and refused to break. The admission shattered her.
Then stay, she sobbed. Please, stay with me.
His eyes were already closing. Wish I could. Then his hand went slack.
Caleb, she shook him. Caleb, no, you don't get to do this. Wake up.
Pete pulled her away gently. Lena, he's gone.
No, she fought his grip. No, he's still breathing. I can see.
He's gone. The truth crashed over her. Caleb Ward, the man who'd saved her, trained her, believed in her, was dead. And she'd loved him too late to say it while he could really hear. Around them, the battlefield was silent. Dutch's forces had scattered, leaderless. The fight was over. They'd won. At the cost of everything that mattered. Lena couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The world had narrowed to Caleb's still face and the blood soaking into Wyoming dirt. Then Pete's voice cut through the shock. Wait, I see movement. His chest. He's breathing. Lena's head snapped up.
What?
Barely, but he's alive. Pete pressed fingers to Caleb's neck. Pulse is weak, but there. Get him inside, now! The paralysis shattered. Lena was moving before thought caught up, helping drag Caleb toward the house. His blood left a trail across the compound.
Don't you dare die, she whispered fiercely. Not after everything. Not after finally telling me the truth.
They laid him on the kitchen table. His chest showed a bullet wound high on the left side. Still bleeding, but not the arterial spray that meant certain death. It missed his heart, Pete said, tearing open Caleb's shirt. But it's deep. He's losing blood fast. Then we stopped the bleeding. Lena's hands moved with desperate precision. Cloth, pressure, prayer.
Someone ride to town. Get the doctor. Tell him it's life or death.
Town's 2 hours away, Tom said from the doorway, leaning on a crutch. He won't make it.
Then I do it myself.
Lena looked at Pete.
You pulled bullets before?
From cattle, not people.
Close enough.
She grabbed whiskey, needle, thread.
Hold him steady.
Her hand shook as she poured whiskey into the wound. Caleb's body jerked, even unconscious. Good. Meant he was still fighting.
Talk to me,
Pete said quietly.
Keep yourself focused. The bullet's lodged against bone. I can feel it. Lena's fingers probed carefully. If I go too deep, I could nick something vital.
If I don't get it out, infection will kill him anyway. So what do? I save him. She met Pete's eyes. Because losing is not an option. She worked by candlelight and pure determination. Every second felt like drowning. Every breath Caleb took felt like a miracle. Finally, mercifully, the bullet came free. Got it. She held up the deformed metal. Now we stitch and pray. By the time she finished, dawn was breaking. Caleb's breathing had steadied. Still unconscious, but alive. Lena sat beside him, holding his hand, feeling the pulse beat against her fingers. You're not allowed to leave, she told him. I finally got you to admit you loved me. You're staying to deal with the consequences. Pete appeared with coffee. Survivors are gathering outside. They want to know what happens next. What happens is, we survived. Lena's voice was hollow. Dutch is dead. His forces scattered. The immediate threat is over. And the syndicate? Still out there, still powerful. She looked at Caleb's unconscious form. We won the battle, but the war isn't finished. As if summoned by her words, hoofbeats sounded outside. Not an army this time, just 3 riders. Lena grabbed her rifle and went to the door. Pete followed, weapon ready. 3 men dismounted, expensive suits, city manners, lawyers by the look of them. The eldest stepped forward. Miss Carter, I'm Howard Brennan, representing the Winchester Syndicate. I'm here to discuss terms of settlement. Settlement? Lena's laugh was bitter. You sent 60 men to kill us. 13 of my people are dead. You want to negotiate? What I want is to prevent further bloodshed. Brennan's voice was smooth as oil. Mr. Keller exceeded his authority. His actions do not reflect syndicate policy. We're prepared to offer generous compensation for your losses. In exchange for? Your land and your silence. He pulled out papers. $100,000, more than fair market value. You sign today, leave within the week, and we forget this unfortunate incident occurred. Lena looked at the document, looked at the bodies still being carried to the barn, looked at Caleb fighting for life on her kitchen table. No, she said. Brennan's smile didn't waver. Miss Carter, be reasonable. You've suffered tremendous losses. Take the money. Start fresh, somewhere safe. I said no. The syndicate has resources you cannot imagine. Legal teams, political connections. We can make your life very difficult if you refuse. You already made my life difficult. Lena raised her rifle slightly. You sent an army. We destroyed it. You think lawyers scare me now? Brennan's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. She gestured toward the gate. Get off my property. Don't come back. I regret not shooting Dutch the moment I saw him. I regret every second I wasted being afraid of men like you. Lena's voice went cold. But I don't regret standing my ground. Now leave, before I decide you look like accomplices to murder. The lawyers retreated, but Brennan paused at his horse. The syndicate doesn't forget, Miss Carter. One way or another, we get what we want. After they left, Pete whistled low. You just declared war on the most powerful land company in Wyoming. I know. Lena's hands shook. I know exactly what I did. So, what now? Now we fight with paper instead of bullets. She looked at the gathered survivors. Everyone who witnessed the attack, write down what you saw. Dates, names, everything. We document every crime the syndicate committed. Tom limped forward. What good will that do? Caleb said the syndicate has lawyers and politicians,
But we have truth, and sometimes truth is enough. Lena's jaw set. We're going to the federal marshals. We're going to the newspapers. We're going to make so much noise that the syndicate can't silence us.
That's a hell of a gamble, someone said.
Everything's a gamble. Lena looked at each face. But I'd rather gamble on justice than surrender to fear. Who's with me? Slowly, hands rose. Not everyone, but enough. For the next 3 days, Lena lived between Caleb's bedside and frantic preparation. They compiled witness statements, drew maps showing burned ranches, gathered evidence of fraud, intimidation, murder. Sarah Porter, despite her grief, testified about her husband's death. Tom documented threats he'd received. Even families who'd lost everything contributed their stories. On the 4th day, Caleb's eyes finally opened. Lena was there, holding his hand, and his first words were, "Did we win?" Relief crashed over her so hard she couldn't speak. Just nodded, tears streaming. "Hey." His voice was weak but real. "Don't cry. I'm too mean to die." "You're an idiot." She gripped his hand tighter. "You got shot in the chest. You could have died." "Could have. Didn't." His thumb traced her knuckles. What happened? After. She told him everything. The lawyers, the evidence gathering, the plan to expose the syndicate. Caleb listened, something like pride warming his expression. "You're taking on the syndicate with paperwork. You have a better idea?" "No." He tried to sit up, gasped, fell back. "I think it's brilliant. Dangerous, but brilliant." "Rest." Lena pushed him down gently. "You're in no shape to help." "The hell I'm not." He grabbed her wrist. "Lena, listen. I know people. Judges who hate corruption. Journalists who'd kill for a story like this. Federal marshals who've been trying to pin something on Winchester for years. Let me make introductions." "You can barely sit up." "Then help me." His eyes burned with familiar intensity. "You saved my life. Now let me help save your ranch." She wanted to argue, wanted to force him to rest and heal. But she saw the desperation in his face, the need to contribute, to matter. "Fine," she said, "but you do it from this bed. No writing, no fighting, just talking." Deal. Over the next week, Caleb made good on his promises. Despite his weakness, he dictated letters to contacts across 3 territories, called in old favors, leveraged his reputation. And people listened. A federal marshal named Carson Hayes arrived first. Tall, weathered, with eyes that missed nothing. "Ward vouched for you," he told Lena. "Said you've got evidence Winchester's been running a criminal enterprise." "More than evidence. Witnesses, documents, bodies." Lena handed him their compiled records. "Everything we've got." Hayes studied the papers, his expression growing darker. "This is substantial. If even half is true, Winchester executives are facing prison." "It's all true." Lena's voice didn't waver. "Every word, every crime, every death." "I'll need to interview witnesses personally, build a case that'll hold in court." "Whatever you need." Lena gestured at the gathered families. "Everyone here wants justice, not revenge, justice." Hayes spent 2 days interviewing survivors. His questions were thorough, skeptical, designed to find holes in testimony. He found none. On the 3rd day, he met with Lena and Caleb in the kitchen. "I'm filing federal charges," Hayes said. "Conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, fraud. I've got enough to arrest a dozen syndicate executives." Lena felt something loosen in her chest. "Really?" "Really. Your documentation is meticulous. Your witnesses are credible." Hayes looked at Caleb. "Ward,
You trained her well." "She didn't need training." Caleb's voice held quiet pride. "Just someone to believe in her." Hayes stood. "I'll need you both to testify when this goes to trial. It won't be easy. Winchester will bring their best lawyers. They'll try to destroy your credibility."
"Let them try." Lena's voice was steel. "I'm done being afraid of powerful men."
After Hayes left, Caleb caught Lena's hand. "You realize what you just committed to? Months of testimony, public scrutiny. They'll dig into every part of your life."
"I know."
"They'll call you a wild woman, unnatural. Try to claim you're making this up for attention."
"Let them." She met his eyes. "I know who I am. I know what we fought for. That's all that matters."
Caleb pulled her closer. "When this is over, when the trial's done and the syndicate's broken, what will you do?"
"Rebuild."
The answer came easily.
"This valley lost too much. We'll need to support widows, raise barns, plant crops. It'll take years."
"Sounds exhausting."
"Sounds like home." She studied his face. "What about you? You going to drift away again?"
"That depends."
"On what?"
"On whether a certain stubborn rancher would want a washed-up soldier sticking around." His voice softened. "I'm not much of a prize, Lena. I've got ghosts, nightmares, days where I can barely function."
"I've got all that now too," she said quietly. "Thanks to this war. So maybe we're even."
"You deserve better than broken."
"I deserve honest. I deserve someone who sees me as an equal, not a problem to solve." She touched his face. "You gave me that. In the canyon, in the training. In every moment you trusted me to lead. That's worth more than any undamaged man who'd try to tame me."
Caleb's eyes searched hers. "I can't promise I'll be easy to live with."
"Good. Easy's boring."
She smiled through tears.
"I'm asking you to stay, Caleb. Not as a protector, not as a soldier. As a partner. Someone who'll ride beside me while we rebuild this valley into something worth the cost."
"You're sure?"
"I've never been more sure of anything." He pulled her down into a kiss that tasted like hope and new beginnings. When they finally broke apart, Caleb whispered, "I love you, and I'm terrified of how much." "Good," Lena laughed shakily. "Fear keeps you sharp. You taught me that."
Using my own words against me again. Whatever works. The trial took 4 months. Lena testified for 3 days straight, faced hostile lawyers who questioned everything from her competence to her morals. They called her wild, unnatural, a woman overstepping her place. She answered every question with calm precision, presented evidence, named names, refused to be intimidated. Sarah Porter testified about her husband's murder. Tom described threats and intimidation. Pete documented the battle itself, and Caleb, still recovering but unshakable, provided the military expertise that proved Dutch's actions were coordinated, deliberate, criminal. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all charges. 5 Winchester executives were sentenced to prison. The syndicate was dissolved, its assets seized to compensate victims. When the verdict came down, Lena was standing in the courtroom beside Caleb, their hands intertwined. "It's over," she whispered. "No." Caleb squeezed her hand. "Now it begins." He was right. Returning to the valley felt like coming home to a different world. The ranches that had survived banded together, sharing resources, rebuilding what was lost. Lena divided the compensation money among all the families, used her portion to help widows restart their lives, to fund a school for valley children, to build a community center where neighbors could gather. Caleb stayed true to his word. He didn't try to take over, didn't try to run things. He worked alongside Lena as an equal, planning, building, creating something new from the ashes of war. 6 months after the trial, they stood together on the North Ridge, watching the sun set over a valley finally at peace. "You ever regret it?" Caleb asked. choosing this life, all the hardship.
Every day, Lena admitted. I regret every life lost, every choice that cost someone I cared about. I'll carry those ghosts forever. But I don't regret standing my ground. I don't regret becoming someone strong enough to protect what matters. She looked at him. And I don't regret finding someone who never tried to change who I am. I couldn't change you if I tried. You're too stubborn. Exactly. She leaned against him. You know what the town says now? Instead of, no man could tame that woman, they say, no man needed to. Apparently, we're some kind of legend. The wild rancher and her soldier. Caleb smiled. Could be worse. Could be better, too. They're romanticizing what was actually hell. Let them. If our story makes one woman believe she can stand up to powerful men, it's worth the myth-making. Lena tilted her head up. When did you become wise? When I met someone worth being wise for. He kissed her forehead. I'm staying, you know. Not just for months or years. For good. If you'll have me. On one condition. Name it. You stop acting like you're not worth loving. You stop carrying all that guilt alone. You let me help you heal the way you helped me become strong. Her voice was fierce. Deal? Caleb's throat worked. That's asking a lot. I know, but you're worth it. Even when you don't believe it. She gripped his shirt. Deal? Deal. He pulled her close. God help us both. We don't need God's help. We've got each other. They stood there as darkness fell, two people who'd fought through hell and found something worth keeping on the other side. In the valley below, lights began appearing in ranch houses, families settling in for the night, children being tucked into beds, life continuing in the space they'd protected. You know what I think? Lena said softly. What? I think the strongest love isn't the one that changes people. It's the one that gives them space to become who they're meant to be. She looked up at him. You never tried to tame me. You just stood beside me and trusted I knew my own strength. Because you did. Caleb's eyes held hers. You always did. You just needed someone to stop standing in your way. And you needed someone to convince you that redemption isn't found in dying for a cause. It's found in living for one. When did you become the wise one? When I met someone worth being wise for. She echoed his earlier words. Seems we're good for each other. Seems we are. They walked back toward the ranch house together, side by side, equals in every way that mattered. Behind them, the valley stretched dark and peaceful. Ahead, the lights of home beckoned warm. And Lena Carter, the woman no man could ever tame, walked beside the man who'd never wanted to, knowing that the wild heart she'd fought so hard to protect had finally found the one person strong enough not to break it, but to guard it. That was the truest kind of love, not the kind that conquered or controlled, but the kind that stood watch, the kind that protected, the kind that said, I see who you are, and I choose to ride beside you into whatever comes next. And in that choice, that partnership, they'd found something more valuable than all the land in Wyoming. They'd found freedom. They'd found strength. They'd found each other. The valley had been saved. The war had been won. But the greatest victory wasn't the battle they'd survived. It was the life they built in its wake. A life founded not on one person's strength, but on two people choosing to be stronger together than they ever could be apart.